Hey, this is Lawlord, and we're doing a One Piece chapter 735 review. The chapter title is Fujitora's Objective. Now, I'm a new reviewer, and this is my first review. I read a lot of One Piece forums, and I've just been so interested that I really wanted to make my own reviews because I felt like some of the reviewers were missing some of the things that I enjoyed. Now, as we start off this chapter, before I want to start, I want to say, if you haven't seen the new One Piece anime opening, you should check that out because you have some nice clashes with some really strong opponents in there with the Straw Hats, which is very nice to see animated, and it brings some future speculation as to potential power levels and upcoming battles in the future for the Straw Hats. Okay, so check that out if you can. Alright, so in this chapter, I'll deal with the main aspect. So we deal with the outcome of Block D. It has been finalized. We have Cavendish and all of the other gladiators going off in the stretchers. Now, one interesting thing to note here is that Cavendish, his Hakuba, may be activated when he gets sucked up by Treble. Now, if you remember, all of the gladiators are imprisoned in the underground, some kind of underground prison, where Chinjiao is currently residing, and they all get sucked up by Treble and then get turned into a toy by Sugar. Now, Cavendish, from his skill level in Block D, his Hakuba seems exceptionally strong, and someone I think who would be a match for Treble. Now, if you think about it, who is currently underground in terms of the Straw Hat army? We have Robin, we have Usopp and the dwarves. Now, they're not particularly going to be a match for someone like Treble. Now, why I say this is that Treble is an executive officer, which is the same rank as Virgo. Now, Virgo he easily defeated a Vice Admiral Smoker, who's a mid-tier Vice Admiral, and Law beat him with like a very, very strong attack. Now, if Treble and Diamante and Pika are on the same level as that, which they are in terms of title, I don't think anyone in that particular underground lair is going to be able to take him out. So Cavendish makes sense. He's a good reason. He'll get sucked up, and just before he's about to get turned into a toy, the evil Hakuba face will come out, and he'll go to town on Treble, and he'll have a good battle. And that will actually be a good matchup, because as it stands, Doflamingo kind of has too many men. He has too many people in his crew, and we really need other people to fit in the matchups, which is a good reason why Sabo was introduced, because I was thinking, and others were thinking before that, how are we going to actually deal with the Doflamingo family when he has so many people? Alright, anyway, so that was just a little part I wanted to talk about. Now, I do like to have my reviews longer, because I like to talk about everything that I want to. Okay, anyway, so we have Rebecca telling Lucy that she got into the finals, but she realizes that it is Sabo. And I noticed the drawn-on X for the scar from Akainu on his chest is kind of funny. And Bartolomeo is protecting Sabo's honor. He thought what Rebecca said was some kind of dishonorable to address him so casually. Anyway, Sabo exchanges some words with Rebecca about how everything in the country is a facade, and he compares it to, I think it was the Green or Grey Terminal, or where he and Luffy grew up. So he's basically saying, don't worry, I got this, kind of in a way. That's what it seemed like when he touched her on the shoulder and stuff. So we move on to basically Luffy, Zoro, and Kinemon trying to infiltrate the palace, and they've met up with Violet now. Instead of going up the lift, there is a secret passage. Before that, Violet reveals that she is a princess. She talks to Wicca, and basically that Rebecca is her niece, her elder sister's daughter. Now, they go into a secret lift that Now, from this translation on Manga Stream, it looks as if Luffy says, I bet Doflamingo doesn't even know about this place. In the other translation I saw, I wasn't sure if Violet said that, so I don't really know if Doflamingo will be expecting this or not, but maybe he will. Anyway, we come to some hilarious thing here where Zoro, of all people, basically tells Luffy, comes up with the idea to get up there very quickly by Luffy jumping up and forcing the weight down on the chain so that they're shot up to the top of the lift. It was a crazy smart idea for Zoro. Like, this is very uncharacteristic. It's more of something like Sanji would do, like in Water 7 where he changed the gears and closed the gate, causing the marine ships to all go out of control and all the whirlpools to gather there. The Gates of Justice, sorry. I'm just trying to remember. Okay, so anyway, next we go to Frankie, and he's firing off a volley of rockets. And basically, Senior Pink, he's sitting there. He's just standing there brushing his teeth with a shoe brush, which is hilarious. And he doesn't want to dodge, and he actually gets pretty bruised up, and he's bleeding quite a lot from one of Frankie's basically fodder attacks. And I'm not, Frankie has a lot more in his arsenal than some missiles. He used those missiles in Fishman Island to shoot some fish under the water, so I mean, yeah. So anyway, Senior Pink basically says that his power is not for running away, which is admirable. I mean, his attitude is pretty hilarious. I didn't really like when he pulled that girl's bra off, but his attitude is pretty interesting. I like it. And then, so he puts the alcohol on his wounds. Now, the fact that one of his henchmen says his bones are definitely broken and his face is really beaten up. I mean, this looks like someone who's really messed up. Obviously, he's not. He looks like he's totally fine, but the fact that he got that injured from something like that kind of suggests that he is not a power hitter, and that Frankie is really going to have a reasonable and easy time, I'm thinking, with these guys. Now, he was apparently protecting Match Vice behind him, and I don't know where he came from, but he wasn't revealed, and he just came out of nowhere. So anyway, Match Vice seems to have some kind of weight power. It's very similar to, I think there was a person with a power to increase her weight, and she would, a long time ago near the Crocodile Arc, and she would fall on people. She was in the, she was like a Miss 9 or Miss something. Anyway, he's got a power, and it looks like a weight of some kind gets on his back, so he can fall with more force, and I guess he can float, since Frankie suggests that he can float, and that Senior Pink can swim. So anyway, Frankie jumps out of the way and dodges, which is surprising, since Frankie is not known for his speed, so this guy must not be super fast. But anyway, Match Vice is under the Diamante army, as well as Senior Pink. So, basically what happens is Vice Admiral Bastille shows up, tells everyone to freeze, and they have the intentions of capturing Frankie. Now, they're all surprised that the Marines are there, and Senior Pink is saying some more guys trying to get on my bad side. Now, the question here is whether or not Bastille will engage with just Frankie, or will he engage with the family members as well? Now, if they play their cards right, the family members, they actually have nothing to fear, because, as we see later in this chapter, that Fujitora has decided to side with Doflamingo, and as Doflamingo said in previous chapters, the world government, the Marines, are obliged to help this country, as I believe it is I don't remember the reason, but he said they're obliged to help. Anyway, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. Now, Frankie, I don't believe he's on Vice Admiral Bastille level. Vice Admiral Bastille, he's one of the more classic Vice Admirals in the war, didn't really fight too much. Why I say he's one of the classic admirals and he's of at least a decent level of strength, higher than Smoker is because he's been around a lot longer than Smoker. Smoker is a reasonably strong Vice Admiral. An example of a weak Vice Admiral, I would say, would be some of the giants in the war that got knocked around pretty easily. I think one of them got knocked out by a Gear Third or something from Luffy. And then we have the fighter, the Vice Admiral who infiltrated the Colosseum in Bartolomeo's block and was defeated by him very easily just by a barrier. So, I mean, there are different levels of Vice Admiral, and then you've got Garp, who's an absolute monster. So, I think Bastille is quite strong, so I'm not sure if Frankie can handle him, so I'm at least thinking that Bastille will somehow get involved in a three-way fight or of some kind, because I don't think these two, Senior Pink and Match Vice, will play it smart. I don't think they will. And, I mean, Frankie has done very well so far. I mean, in Punk Hazard, he defeated Baby 5 and Buffalo with ease. He was toying with them. I mean, it was Usopp and Nami who finished them off, but he basically destroyed them, used his cannon on them. He was just toying around with them, shooting them. Like, he had no issue, and I think one of his stronger attacks is his Radical Beam, and that shit is pretty insane. So the fact that Senior Pink got that damage from a missile kind of makes it seem, and that Frankie can dodge this guy, and Frankie's not known for his speed. He can dodge Match Vice. Really, Frankie should be pretty sweet, even in a 2v1. Frankie is really lifting his game. After the time skip, he's been strong. He's been very strong. I think he's at least easily the fourth strongest Straw Hat so far. I mean, from his battles recently, he's been very good. Okay, now we move on to Doflamingo and Fujitora talking in the Hall of Suits, which is an interesting name, where Law is chained up on the heart seat. So basically, Fujitora sides with Doflamingo, but it was not his intention. He only did that because objectively the country is in danger, and if the Straw Hats try to take Doflamingo's head and cause any chaos, it could potentially damage the citizens, and he doesn't want that to happen. Now, something that someone on the forums mentioned was that when Fujitora came to the island, the first thing he did was ask for an entire list of all of the citizens. Now, this might actually reveal to Fujitora, or he might have asked how many there were, or a list of them. So he might, from that piece of information, be able to discern that a number of the population has been turned into toys. That is pretty interesting, and it could come up, and it could be a reason that Fujitora swaps sides. Now, basically what I think will happen is that Luffy will defeat Doflamingo in a one-on-one battle, because I think he's strong enough. And what Fujitora says, he wants to dismantle the Shichibukai system, and he will deal with Doflamingo later. And that is what he wants to do as an admiral, and that is what he strives for after joining and obtaining the position of admiral from the global enlistment. Sorry, I'm not very quick on everything at the moment. Anyway, so there's some very tense dialogue between Fujitora and Doflamingo. And Doflamingo says, what of the balance of the three powers? And then kicks him with the tip of his shoe. Now Fujitora has his sword out of his sheath, and pretty much with the blade pointed at Doflamingo's shoe. So somehow his shoe is strong enough to block the tip of a blade sword, which it can with Haki, so I don't suggest it couldn't. But Doflamingo, I'm really impressed by him now. A lot of people, I feel, underrate him. He has clashed against two admirals at this point, and has just smirked the whole time. There's no one else who's really done that. So, he was basically ready to fight Aokiji. He broke out of his ice. He didn't listen to him when he Aokiji warned him not to kill Smoker, he still tried to kill him anyway, and went to Twitch and kill him with his strings. But he got frozen. He broke out of his ice in an instant. No one's done that other than Whitebeard, from what we've seen. Now, he doesn't hesitate to kick Fujitora, who is a beast. So, and he smiles after it. So, I mean, Doflamingo is weaker than an Admiral, but he's not a lot weaker than an Admiral, and he could fight for a considerable amount of time, is what I believe, before losing. And I also think the same of Luffy. Other people underestimate Luffy, and I think once he goes all out, you will see that he is actually stronger than you think. Anyway, so basically Fujitora has sided with Doflamingo for the time being, and Fujitora's threat that he basically relies on is that when the Reverie comes around, which is the meeting of all the kings of the world will begin to stir at that moment. So I'm imagining something to do with the Shichibukai system maybe will crumble. Maybe the world will get fed up of having people like Doflamingo around. And what Fujitora also hinted at was that he knew of the events in Alabasta with Crocodile and another Shichibukai attempting to take over a country and doom its population. Now they had millions of people clashing in that country, so that would have been absolutely traumatic for Fujitora, who values the lives of citizens. So he's one of the best admirals for me. Like, this characterization is absolutely amazing. I mean, he has so much interest in protecting the citizens, whereas, you know, Akainu, Kizaru is just a kind of like a troll, and the closest is Aokiji. So he's a very interesting guy, and I really want to see what happens when potentially the toys are revealed and reverted to humans, and the secrets of this country are borne out. Now, he does say that because he's blind, he's not able to see the secrets of the country, so do not worry. But I really think he'll change his mind at some point. And what I think will happen is, as I was mentioning earlier, Luffy will beat Doflamingo in a one-on-one battle, and because Fujitora wants the dismissal of the Shichibukai system, Fujitora will arrest him. Now, what that means is Fujitora will have to hang around until the fights of the arc are done, and the conclusion of the arc is done. So that means someone's going to have to keep him busy while he's siding against the Straw Hats. I'm looking at you, Zoro, but I don't think Zoro can keep him busy for a really long amount of time. Now, we've seen one pretty nice clash between Zoro and Fujitora, and that was actually pretty good for Zoro. I mean, he got knocked down with that gravity that crushed all of those people in the bar, and Zoro, just by the sheer strength, he sent an air slash and just jumped out of the hole again. And Fujitora commented on the air slash. Now, that slash was nothing compared to what Zoro can really do. And obviously, those powers that Fujitora displayed were nothing compared to what he can do. Now, he's not... The reason why I think Zoro could keep him busy for a reasonable amount of time, even though Zoro would be fighting a stronger opponent than Luffy, which is kind of strange, is that Fujitora will not be using his meteors in the middle of the palace and potentially killing civilians. He's not going to do that. So his powers will be restricted. Therefore, Zoro will more reliably able to have a better showing against Fujitora, and it won't be as much of like an ass pull, because Zoro, Luffy, not at Admiral level yet. These Admirals, I mean, you have both sides of the coin. People underrate them and people overrate them. Admirals successfully went up against Yonko. I mean, none of the Admirals had any trouble with Whitebeard. Akainu took his hits and was still going and basically fought the rest of Whitebeard's crew one-on-one. So, like, they're very, very strong. But, you know, someone who is Admiral strength, like Aokiji, matched Akainu for 10 days. Now, someone like Luffy or Zoro, they might be able to keep him busy for an hour. Something like that, you know. It's a bit different from 10 days and being on their level of strength. But actually, you know, having a good battle and keeping them busy and matching and exchanging blows is not too far out of the question for me. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be eating a Gear 3 hackied up elephant gun, Admiral or not, and enjoying it. So I don't think Whitebeard would enjoy getting hit by that. So that's not to say he would be hit by it. So, you know, a lot of things play into the decision. Alright, so what happens next is basically Koala is observing in the Colosseum. Now, the announcer says, Gats says that all that is left is to wait for the entry of our 5 contestants in the Colosseum. Now, 5 contestants means that basically we've got Diamante against everyone else. So it looks like it's some kind of battle royale with whoever wins gets the fruit. Because I don't think... The only way this could work is last man standing gets the fruit. For example, it couldn't be something like we all fight Diamante, then there'd be three or four winners left. Who the hell gets the fruit? So it doesn't people need to defeat each other and it has to be one man standing. So that's how it's going to go. Now, how is the matchups going to go? Obviously, Bartolomeo, Rebecca, and Sabo are going to be all together, which makes me think that Burgess is going to be quite a considerable threat. Diamante, we already know he's at least on Virgo's level of strength, which is very high. So we'll see how we go. It should be a very interesting battle. Sabo or Rebecca. Now, the fact that Rebecca made it all the way into this final makes me think that somehow she'll win. But she definitely doesn't have the strength to win. Whether or not she has the speed in this battle to avoid the blows, maybe. Burgess seems like a kind of like a strength brawler, like a very, very strong brawler, and he is the Yonko 1st Division Commander of Blackbeard, so he's going to be strong. But I expect Sabo to be on Luffy's level, and I don't think Burgess is on Luffy's level. The reason being, Luffy spent 2 years training. Luffy was always stronger than Burgess throughout the entire series, so I don't think so. I don't think Sabo can be beaten by Burgess, but I think Burgess needs to have his reputation retained. He can't get his ass kicked and then look bad for the final battle with Luffy's crew and Blackbeard's crew. So Burgess will have to keep his mystery, so he may get knocked out of the ring, like some kind of like trick or something. I don't know what Diamante's power is, but he must be very confident in going up against all of these people. It seems like he must be even stronger than Virgo to expect to beat all of these people, which is very interesting. We'll see how strong he is. Now, Pika is still in the castle, so Zoro, Luffy, and Kinemon will be going up there. They'll have Doflamingo, Fujitora, and Pika. Now, basically, that's a match for each person. Pika for Kinemon, Zoro for Fujitora, Luffy for Doflamingo. Now, that leaves Diamante in the Colosseum, and that leaves Trebol to Cavendish and the dwarf Usopp Robin army. Now, Sabo says Ace watch over him at the very end, which is very nice. So all in all, this was a pretty good chapter. It was very exciting to see the interaction between Doflamingo and Fujitora. It was nice to see Frankie's battle again, see that he's really holding his own. I really like it when Frankie's fighting. He does well. Last time he won versus 2 some people. He did have his General Frankie. Not that he needed it, but I really think he's quite strong. So overall, it was a good chapter. I'm looking forward to what I think will happen next week. Is we'll have the beginning of the block. We'll have Diamante entering and the other contestants. We'll get to see Burgess. It'll be very interesting with that. We may even see Luffy confronting, catching sight of Doflamingo or something like that in the next chapter, maybe towards the end, and him being very surprised and angry that he has these people in his palace, and we may even get the start of some matchups for the palace fight. Now that might happen in a few more chapters. Now, Law is out. He's on the heart seat. I don't believe he'll be fighting until the main fights are finished in this arc. So some people say, oh, it's Law and Luffy versus Doflamingo. No. Luffy is strong enough, he'll deal with it. That is my opinion. And Law is in no condition to fight at the moment. Okay. I think that... Let me just check. Alright, now that is everything. Those were the main points I saw from the chapter. It's a bit of a long review. I like the long reviews. I like talking about power levels and stuff. Sometimes I don't go overboard, but I mean, if you enjoyed the video, it would be good if you could like it. And if you want to subscribe, I'll be doing One Piece reviews every week for the manga and maybe for the anime as well. And I'm just starting out, so I'll probably get better as we go along. Alright, have a good day, guys. See ya.